Welcome to the Mound City Council. Today is Tuesday, March 11th at 6 o'clock. Can we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we got our agenda. Do we have any amendments?
No amendments.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
And can I get a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, the agenda is passed. We also have the consent agenda. Does someone want to go through those items?
I can go through it, unless anyone else really wanted to, but I wanted to ask a question about a couple,
Okay, we should pull the ones that you want to.
and I don't even know if they need to be pulled or not, but items H and I just wanted to see exactly what was changing. I didn't really feel like I got it clear,
Okay.
if it was just verbiage or.
Do you want to pull those? Or?
Yeah, if we're gonna have
Okay,
discussion about it.
we'll just pull those.
Yeah, okay, so I'll read A through G?
Yep.
Oh, and J.
Yeah.
Okay, consent agenda, A, approve payment of claims, B, approve minutes from the February 25th and February 18th joint meeting, C, approve resolution approving variance for lakeshore setback for deck replacement at 4366 Wilshire, D, approve resolution approving variance for undersized lot at 2914 Meadow Lane, E, approve resolution approving variance for front setback for replacement house at 4609 Tuxedo, F, approve resolution approving public gathering permit for Bass Nation for use of Surfside Park, and beach for way station on May 31st, 2025. G, approve ordinance amending chapter 46 of Mound City Code, for code offenses and miscellaneous provisions. And then J, approve 2025 Planning Commission work plan and project list.
All right, so we went through those, and we're pulling H and I. Does anybody else want to talk about any other ones? All right, can I get a motion to approve A through G and J?
I make a motion to approve consent items A through G and J.
Okay, got a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Herrick,
Aye.
Councilmember McEnany,
Aye.
Councilmember Pugh,
Aye.
Councilmember Castellano,
Aye.
Mayor Holt.
Aye. Okay, so if you were here for any of that items, that's passed and you're good to go. Or you can stay if you want.
Congratulations.
Easy enough. All right, so now we have H. We'll bring that up if you want to go ahead and talk about that.
I didn't have any questions in particular, but I didn't see like the strike through or changes. But was it just like verbiage change mostly?
Do you wanna
Mostly.
take-
It would be great if Sarah was here so she could go through it, but maybe Jesse can.
So, obviously Sarah's not here. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Generally, things that were approved by the Planning Commission unanimously have gone on consent. Sarah's gonna be at the next meeting, I think even along with Rita Trapp, so I can do a couple different things. We can just table them and approve them. They're not world-changing here, but it's generally text changes.
Okay.
But we're happy to do that too. I just, being that it was just a couple consent items, I gave Sarah the night off, but,
Yeah, no, I mean, we can approve it tonight. I just wanted to ask like either you or Sarah and Councilmember McEnany if there was anything like additional to add or if it was just text. Like, I
There
didn't-
really isn't. It
Okay.
was mostly just updating some old verbiage, that wasn't very clear.
Okay, yeah, I read it and didn't have any like
Yeah.
feedback or anything.
We did talk at length about a lot of the signage, but again, there was nothing that was earth-shattering. It was just mostly to clarify the language
Okay,
for
Maybe a
people that.
suggestion for next time is to red herring it, to have strike-through language so we can see
Yeah.
what the change is.
If I was reading this right, I think this is a complete replacement, isn't it?
Yeah, so that would be why there wasn't, but we could,
Oh, okay.
I suppose, unless it's too cumbersome to have strike-throughs on two different.
Yeah, yeah, if it's a complete, you wouldn't do it.
Visually, I don't recall anything would be changing,
Okay.
you know, as far as signage on buildings and,
Yeah, I didn't, have any questions in particular either. I was just curious.
yeah. But certainly, I mean, I wish I could give you more in-depth answers, but
Just not a whole lot more to it, kind of?
there really isn't. But again, Sarah, maybe give her a buzz tomorrow and she can kind of walk you through it.
There were some clarifications or where our code didn't line up with state statute too, some of that. I mean,
Okay.
just text references type of thing.
I mean, I don't mind if we put those back in and approve H&I. I didn't have anything else. I don't think we need to table it, or do we need to table it now that it was pulled?
No, definitely not.
Okay.
You would just make a separate motion, but
Yeah.
that was just our offer for more. If you really wanted to dive
Okay.
into it, we certainly can. Otherwise, feel free to make a motion.
Mostly, that really got reevaluated because we were going through all of the, you know, the work rules, everything. That's kind of what we spent the year on, kind of like
Yeah.
we had our agenda.
Yeah, and I saw like the unanimous approval.
Yeah.
So I don't know, did anybody else have any questions on H&I, or was it just me?
I think just you.
Okay.
If you go to page 680, there's just kind of a executive summary on there, and it says, in accordance with federal case law, the code was updated to organize the sign regulations based on the type of sign, temporary or permanent, location and size. The regulations have also been modified to remove regulations that were based on what the sign said. For example, the city cannot have specific regulations for garage sale signs or real estate signs. That's kind of number one. Regulations for dynamic display signs were added since the city already has some. Another one is clarification was provided on how sign area is measured. And then to ease administration, permits for temporary signs were eliminated. Staff will still enforce the regulation for temporary signage. Regulations for murals were added since they are not considered signs, and the Planning Commission requested regulations for signs painted on buildings. And again, then the next few pages goes through the actual ordinance. So, I mean, unless there's any other conversation, do you want to do a motion to approve it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to approve items H and I.
Should do
just-
those,
just H
do
only.
do it separately.
Just do them separate? Okay. On the consent agenda, to add back in H and make a motion to approve ordinance repealing and replacing Chapter 119 of Mound City Code, and it's entirely related to signage.
Okay, got a motion, can I get a second?
Second?
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, so that H passes. And then I, do you want to
Yeah.
do a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to approve and re-add consent agenda item I, approve resolution authorizing publication by title and summary pursuant to Minnesota Statute 412-191, subdivision 4 of an ordinance repealing and replacing Chapter 119 of the Mound City Code in its entirety related to signage.
All right, got a motion, can I get a second?
Second?
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right, that passed. All right, so number 5, we got comments and suggestions from residents that their item is not on the agenda. Really, we only have, kind of, besides the police after this, we have the state of the water. So if it's not one of those two things, come up and give us your name and address. Welcome. Can you give us your name and address?
Yeah, Patricia Eddington, 4567 Dorchester Road. Hi, I'm a longtime Mound resident and homeowner, and today I'm here to advocate for the Mound rental property license that has been under consideration by the city. As a longtime Mound resident, I've experienced firsthand the repercussions of unregulated home rentals in our city. Over a decade ago, a nearby home became the property of an investment firm that monopolized on an expensive inexpensive foreclosure. What followed is a series of problems. It is an example of the phenomena that we don't want to see in Mound. And I'm referring to the private equity's ruthless takeover of the last of affordable housing. So property that was once a well-loved family home began to decay away. Home repairs and maintenance are being neglected by the homeowner. The home has fallen into disrepair. Even simple tasks like grass cutting and trash removal are often left undone. The house basically is now nothing more than the homeowner's ATM machine, and it has had a procession of rotating renters, some of these creating serious problems for neighbors. The property owners have made themselves invisible, nearly impossible to track down. The times they are contacted, they do nothing meaningful to resolve any problems on their property. Although there has been problems with some of the renters, I sympathize with them because they're being exploited by predatory landlords. I would encourage you to initiate the rental licensure for the city of Mound to protect our residents from predatory investors entering the city, so that anyone looking to speculate on our city would understand this isn't a place for slumlords. There are laws to follow, and they will be required to invest in the property and the city. So thank you. I just wanted to present that because I heard that this was under consideration, and yeah, it's like an ongoing problem around a lot of, I mean, at least my neighborhood, I'm guessing others as well, because whenever there's a complaint about this, there's really no regulations, no ordinances like covering rentals. And that's what I'm told, and that's what other people are told. So these people can just do whatever they want and not take care of the property, if they choose to, not at all.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming out. We did talk about this in our joint planning and council workshop, and actually in our own workshop as well. And it is something that we're looking at.
Okay.
A lot of other cities do have policies with
Okay.
rental code and stuff, and we're kind of one of the ones that doesn't. So
All right.
we're definitely going to look into it. So
Thank
we
you.
appreciate you coming out.
Thank you.
All right, do you have any other people? Hey, come on up. Can you give us your name and address?
Tyler Piper, resident at 5504 Church Road. Just two quick notes. First one is I've just been having a slight issue ongoing with the road, Church Road coming down with truck traffic, and it's about 3 times a year that I have to buy about $20, $30 worth of soil to replace because they can't make, I think it's the Belmont and Church Road turn, and so they always end up backing into my yard. I have some plum trees that are growing. They're going to be very thorny, so hopefully eventually that will stop that. But I just wanted to raise that for awareness to them as different roads are being considered and worked on. And then definitely not a part of my Parks and Open Space Commission. This is me speaking as just a resident of Mound, but also of Hennepin County and Minneapolis, in that raised your awareness that the Lawns to Legumes program, which is a grant program, and I apologize, I didn't come with enough research to tell you how many people in Mound or nearby areas have received that grant funding, but it is not included in the current governor's budget and proposed bill. SF number 1211 seeks to repeal funding, putting pollinators like the rusty patched and monarch butterfly in jeopardy, et cetera. There's more on the website, but I just wanted to, as a resident, voice my support for this program, and we'll be looking into it in my other capacity as well, but just wanted to raise
Can you
awareness.
repeat that bill number?
Yes, SF number 1211.
Okay.
And I think it's not in there, so you wouldn't find it in there, but that was the name of the current bill.
Okay.
But,
What was the name of it?
It's a pollinator.
the Lawn to Legumes program, which is part of, I think they work in coordination with Blue Thumb, is the organization, and they typically do $250 grant awards through a lottery system, and they prioritize, I think, Hennepin County because of our rusty-patched bumblebee population. But I've served as a mentor, had my name on the volunteer list for many years, but never been called to actually help anyone, which was kind of a bummer. But it is a good program, and again, just as a resident, wanted to voice my support, so.
It was lawn to legumes?
Yeah, or, let me
It's
see.
part of the pollinator.
Yeah,
Like
lawn to
beans.
legumes.
Leggings or lagoons?
I heard leggings and lagoons.
Oh my gosh. Definitely not leggings, Lugumes. Legumes,
Lagoon.
Legumes.
legumes. Lawns to leggings.
Like a bean, right?
It was
Yeah, makes more
initially,
sense.
it was initially authored by Kelly Morrison when she was our state rep.
She authored the bill.
She authored the original bill,
I did not know that.
yeah.
Sure.
Mhm.
Anyways, thank you.
All right, thanks,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, anybody else? All right, next up, we got Orno, please. Welcome.
Greetings.
City Council. Met 2 weeks ago, not a lot has changed. Weather's changed, so a little more activity at nights and during the weekends we've been seeing, but nothing has upticked on us or anything. Big thing is weight restrictions are on now, so we will be out enforcing that day and night. We have several trained officers on dealing with road restrictions on days and nights, and we are, next week, we'll be training up more to deal with that, because it is a problem. It can be a problem if it's not monitored, so our department has always been pretty vigilant on, heavy trucks going down roads and damaging stuff, so. And then also people just call in, if they see them, we try to cut them off and correct the behavior, and usually it's a fine, and heavy fine depending on what it is.
Can you put a little concentration on West Edge Boulevard?
Yep, that's usually where our problem is, because they try to sneak around our city and go down, so.
I
Yep,
see it.
they come up 44, yeah, we are well aware of
you.
that, so we'll capture that as much as we can. Tuesdays and Thursday next week, we'll be conducting our annual spring use of force training. The guys and gals of Orono PD have to go back and research on tasers and other things to keep up with the post board, so we'll be busy for the next week with a lot of training for our officers. Other than that, application process for our new OPD has closed, and our hiring process, interviewing will start next week, Thursday, I believe. We'll start interviewing people. And then our new canine, Onyx, has started training. His second day today. Got to see him come in. He was a big mud ball when he got in, but he's training. He's a very large 1-year-old shepherd, so very nice dog. So I'll keep you guys updated on that, but it looks like it's going pretty well so far. They're working on obedience and just handling of the dog and stuff right now, so. And then Officer Schultz reported to me, our school resource officer, she is finished up Our Lady of the Lakes DARE program, and that will be the last DARE program for the year. Anything else, any questions? If you have any questions on the readouts for the 3 points, I looked over them. Everything kind of averages into the 27, 30 mile an hour mark. There's a few where someone spiked at a 50, but we don't know how or where that came from. It might have been a patrol squad going to a call, but we have no idea. We don't have ways of tracking it, but
Okay.
looks
So you
like
just saw
every-
one, basically.
say what?
You just saw one big,
One in the 50s, which I'm like, well, I don't know how they can, I don't think I've ever done 50 going to a call on that road. I don't think you can do that.
Tough.
You have to be a race car
could have
driver.
been a
and-
blip,
so
like a
it-
screw up thing, or?
We don't know, it was an odd thing, but there's a few 41s, 40s and stuff that people had, but the spike shows right in the 30 to 32 mark
Okay.
is what I saw, I noticed. I don't know if did you guys get these readouts? And
Yeah, Josh shared them.
you got them, okay. So if there's any questions on them, Chief Forniak said there's going to be a police commission meeting tomorrow, and
Yes.
you'll be there. So if you have any questions on it, he'll answer them fully if you have anything, so.
Great, thank you.
But other than that, that's all I have for this.
Can we move the trailers now to West Edge?
You want West Edge?
We were talking about right
The
before the
speed.
hill, right
Their
before you go
speed?
down,
Okay.
to the north. What's the cross section there?
Evergreen.
Evergreen is
Evergreen.
the Sorbo part.
That's it, okay.
Evergreen, you said?
That's before the,
That's before
The dip down before the curve there? Okay.
Can I ask, did you have a healthy number of applicants?
I just peeked at what we had sitting there. I think we had either 4 or 5.
Okay.
I know we had 4 for
Great.
sure, so. I don't know what their backgrounds are yet and stuff like that. And I don't participate typically in the interview process because I have the training process to deal with them. So I'll find out as we go along and what's going on and how the process goes. So.
Great, thank you.
So I'll keep you posted on that too and let you know how things come out, so.
We want it at Deerwood. Deerwood's right before you go down
Right
the,
before you go down the hill.
yeah, so
Because there's Evergreen.
that's
then Deerwood,
Beechwood, and
Beechwood.
then Evergreen,
Yeah,
as you go south.
yes,
So the Deerwood's right before you go down the hill.
correct,
You want it on
on Deerwood.
the left side.
I think that'd be on your left if you're coming down towards the
Yeah.
water plant.
So when you're coming over from, so you're coming off 44 over Bartlett, you want to catching traffic coming that way, is that right?
We want to see it going down the hill, because going up the hill, they're not going to speed as much. As they go down the hill, that's kind of what you're concerned
Yeah,
about.
so I'm not sure, maybe they need to,
'Cause
As you
if
cross over
maybe they need to
110.
use their judgment.
Yeah,
I'll go take a look at it when I'm
Yeah.
done here.
It's literally right when you come down, I'm at 2630 West Edge, so right, my house is right at the base of that hill.
Okay.
So if you want to put it in my yard, that's fine.
And you're talking like,
But then
when you go down the
it's
hill and it's the curve, it curves,
No, it's- they're
right?
coming
Am I
down.
thinking right?
Yeah, do you want to look at it?
Is it, oh, you got it?
I suppose. Going north down.
Right.
You'd be right at the bottom.
Yeah.
So
it's
here's
where
Bartlett, right?
they come down at the bottom of that base
So
of that
here's the
hill, and they're
Deerwood?
flying before they hit the curve.
So what the
Yeah.
problem is, they're speeding here.
I mean,
So they're going down this hill, and they're kind of speeding around. We already have 15 and 15 there. But this is right where it starts, where they start going fast. So if you put it over here, you're not going to get,
That's too early.
that's too early. Beechwood might be fine. I mean, that's going to deter people, but if you want to get true readouts.
You want to meet before,
Right before it goes down. Or you'd hit them at the bottom of the hill, I
Yeah,
guess,
I mean, if
too.
you want to put it in my yard, I can give you written permission. I mean, I don't have a problem with it.
We have the trailers and we have the signs that we attach to, so we
Okay.
can see what we got available.
Do you just do a strip too, or no?
Like the count, no, we just have the signs and
Okay.
the trailers that we use, so.
That's you, okay.
Strips are
Well, that's
Strips
good.
are mean.
So, yeah, I'll go take a look at it now and I'll have Josh set it up. And we'll see how it reads, and if you're not getting the right readings, we'll have it adjusted and make
Okay.
it.
Just, maybe just shoot the two of us, since we're on the police commission.
Okay.
Maybe shoot us an email after 2 weeks or something, and then maybe we'll see what we find.
Sounds good, I'll do that.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks again for
Thank
coming
you.
out.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, number 7, we got state of the water presentation. You do this all from memory, huh? Oh, there it is.
You're all dressed up for us tonight, Brian?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I am wearing a jacket tonight. This is important. It's important stuff. You'll notice some things in here are recycled a little bit, just so we've got some recitation, sort of some history, and then there are some new things. And so what we're doing here, we came out with this purpose statement a couple years ago when we first started doing this. I will say our focus on our water, more or less, we've always had one, but in this venue, we've started talking about this since the manganese notifications in 2021, a lot more. And that's when we came out with this purpose statement to provide the residents of Mound with safe and affordable drinking water. And after conducting a study, working with the council and the mayor at that time, staff, we came up with the solution that we needed to build a water treatment plant and all the things that go with that, which includes some trunk water mains and a new well. Originally, that study, we said that was about 36 million and some change. Well, thanks to inflation and how long it's been, we're currently using around 40 million for that total solution price tag. This might look similar to a slide you saw last year, other than we've included some 2025 test results. Ryan has been continuing to sample around the community, and we've done some repeat sampling at some similar points. The reason we are doing this sampling sort of around town is to try to get some idea of how the manganese is permeating throughout the system. And so trying to get it, these samples should look a lot more like it would be in your home pre-water softener. I'll make sure that I keep that caveat in there. And you can see, these amounts have not changed significantly. They haven't gone up, they haven't gone down a huge amount, but the manganese is still present, and it's still present above that health-based limit. Anybody who is tired of hearing me say health-based limit has listened to these presentations before, but manganese, just real quick, since this might be first time for some, manganese does not have an actual contamination limit because it is not considered a primary contaminant. But we do know that excessive manganese causes all sorts of health problems. And so because there is no hard, fast science on that, there is a health-based limit. It's 100 milligrams per liter, or 0.1 in this chart would be for adults. I'm sorry, for infants, and 300 or 0.3 for adults. So as you can see, we have test results above that. And so that's why in 2021, we sent out the letters. We recommend, if you don't have any sort of water treatment in your home, that you should be consuming bottled water.
So, Brian, were these tests taken in somebody's home? Is that what, how did they get
Ryan,
these
where were
numbers?
these taken from exactly?
I mean, I don't need to know the exact house. I'm just wondering, is it from a house or?
Not in a home.
Easy access facilities, most of them were city buildings,
Okay.
but wanted to get around the whole city, so we have numbers from all four corners.
And then since we are talking about that right now, we want to continue to make sure that we make public for our residents where they can go to find out what the manganese is like in your unique home. And the reason we recommend testing is because we acknowledge that water softening removes the manganese. The flocculation process for taking out the calcium chlorides does take out a good portion of the manganese. And so if you're curious, does my water softener do the trick? You should go to one of these places and have your water checked. And we recommend that for anybody that's nervous about this, that's worried about this. Unfortunately, we as staff here at the city, we don't have the capability to test this for residents. I would love it if we did, but there are plenty of capable places not too far away. Lots of people I know that have been to Tri-City in Bloomington, which is actually the backside of Bloomington's water treatment plant. They do charge for that, and I don't know offhand how much that is, but I know it's not a lot.
Like 30 bucks or something.
Yeah.
I have another question.
Yes,
When was the
please.
last time the aquifer was tested?
So there isn't a way to directly test the aquifer.
Okay.
We can test it at our source, which is directly from the well.
Okay.
And that is one of the places that has been tested in the past.
Okay.
I did not put that up in the chart because I don't think that we haven't
It's not
been
realistic.
updating that on a regular basis. We've more been concerned with what kind of manganese are we getting at these points within the city for a couple of reasons. One of them is we know there's manganese in the aquifer itself, but also we know that there is likely some manganese in some of the sediment that is in the pipes. And so the question is, how is that coming out? Even if we were suddenly able to completely stop the manganese from coming up from the aquifer, then we may still be experiencing some, likely not in the amounts that we see here. And that is an eventuality that we have talked about on our end of what is it going to look like, how long is it going to take to flush this. And the initial estimate is that the manganese that's in there will be such a small amount that it will be below the health-based limit, well below the health-based limit, but we will be testing, we'll be applying science to that instead of just my gut feel
So
to make
most
sure
of
that.
these numbers are consistent, but Bartlett was up quite a bit. Is that just
Bartlett
probably
was
from
up.
the construction that we've had done?
Uh,
Disturbing the
you know,
lines and,
I'm not going to speculate.
Okay,
It's,
that's fair.
it has more to do with the mixing, of the water that is, the sediment that is already in the pipes. So the farther we get away from the wells,
Okay.
that probably is contributing to it.
low spot too.
Yeah, there's just so many moving pieces in that. That's part of why Ryan tested all over the city. And then we've tested those, we've sampled those points more than once now.
Just trying to educate myself. All right, perfect.
Absolutely.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry I don't have a better answer for you
No,
on that one.
I understand.
So in the last year, we've finally gotten started on the design of what will hopefully someday be more than just a crappy 2D drawing. We should be able to get to actually standing outside our water treatment plant, kicking our shoes in the dirt, talking about what we've accomplished. However, we spent a good portion of 2024 navigating the monies that we have already been given, as well as continuing to ask for more. And so since 2021, we have continued to apply to the IUP and the PPL, which are the intended use plan and the project priority list. Those are ways that the state of Minnesota allocates the drinking water revolving fund monies. And they continue, I'll get more in depth on that. I've got our rankings on another slide. But just talking about things that we have accomplished in '24. So we got to an answer of how we can use the $10.3 million that we were given by the state legislature. Because that was congressionally directed funding, it didn't come through any one of these, drinking water revolving funds or anything like that. The state seemed at first to not know quite what to do with that. And so they gave us that money through the Public Facilities Authority, and that is who handles those loans anyway. Public Facilities Authority, along with us, needed to navigate through some things to set some ground rules. Or was that mid-session last year? We had to have the language amended to make sure that we could unlock that money as soon as possible. And so then we got some language given back to us that said, for some portions of this money, you will have to have bid numbers, which means that the things that we have out to bid right now, as soon as we have those awarded numbers, then we've got actual construction dollars that we can then start getting reimbursed, which Noah is not here, but he will tell you that is one of the biggest things on his mind, is to make sure that the cash flow starts going the other way.
So we have not received any cash on this? I mean, I know it's been designated, but have we actually received it? Hard dollars?
As we spend it, we get reimbursed.
Okay,
So-
so it's a reimbursement process, okay.
Unfortunately, and just in the interest of full transparency, our bills, you all have been floating until now. Once we have, the design of things and the administration of bidding, that the city has been covering that. And then now that we have as bid numbers for those things, or as those come in, then all of that becomes eligible for reimbursement.
And we submit that monthly, quarterly, annually?
It's a monthly
It's monthly, okay,
draw.
all right.
One thing that we had started, and we felt like we were Johnny on the spot with, that we were throwing a curveball, is what I'm calling in here the Part 106 Cultural Resources. We are in Mound, and if anyone thinks about what the implication is of the mounds, or where the name came from, Part 106 is all of those archaeological, cultural resources, things out of respect for ancestors, people who may be buried in places around the state, as well as the rules that are set forth in the Minnesota Cemeteries Law. We were prepared, Bolton and Mank was prepared to do the investigation and clear the site. However, with the just under $1 million that was given to us by the federal government, that was also congressionally directed spending, they didn't quite know how to handle their own money either, and so they gave us over to the EPA, who said we would like to administer that process. That unfortunately has sort of ground that process to a halt. You won't see me putting this in the slides in writing, but my take on it is that the EPA is woefully understaffed to be able to handle that process, and so we have been asked to wait a number of months. In fact, we first sent them the letters that they could have sent out to the consulting parties in October of '24, and that still has not happened. So we've been brainstorming the last couple of weeks on ways that we can move that forward. What we are currently doing on our end is having conversations with the administrators at the EPA to attempt to further direct those funds. And so what we're doing right now is, even though the water treatment plant itself isn't designed, we're trying to figure out, can we purchase some pieces of treatment equipment or some things that are going to be needed to go inside that plant so that we can shift their focus off of anything that is land-based. Anything that we are doing that is infrastructure, underground, sort of land-based, that gives them the jurisdiction to want to control that process. And so they've indicated that if we can come up with $935,000 worth of equipment, that they will cover that and they will pull out of that process. Now, that doesn't give us the scot-free. We will still then be at the mercy of the state of Minnesota. And so the state of Minnesota may still want to be that Part 106 administrator, but the state of Minnesota we know to be far more responsive in this case, and also we have a much better working relationship with the Section 106 people at the state of Minnesota. So we're trying everything we can right now to keep that moving, but honestly that has brought some design things to a halt. One of the things that's kept us from doing is geotechnical investigation on the plant site itself. So we have not been able to design and site the well or design and site the foundations of the new plant because we cannot, poke any holes. We've not been able to take any cores. I can't tell you where the soil is bad and where the soil is good, because we want to make sure that we are not inadvertently taking some of those cores in a very disrespectful way. And so, I mean, this is a good thing that we are doing this. It's not good that it is holding us up, but it is, you know, it's a worthwhile rule to follow. It's a worthwhile law to have in place to make sure that everyone operates with respect. However, it's sure a pain in our butt right now.
Do we have any idea as to the potential of a cultural site being
So-
in this area?
So some of those are cataloged. I want to be careful how much I say here because the locations of those things,
You can't
where
say.
where they're known, they are also lawfully protected. But what we do know is that there are some in the area, but we don't believe any to be directly on site. We did do some of that before we chose this site. You know, we were wanting to make sure that we weren't putting it smack dab on top of something that was going to force us to move to begin with. But obviously, you never know for sure until you do the actual investigation. So that does involve somebody going out there with a shovel.
Yeah.
They continue to tell me that that person does not have a whip and a hat like Indiana Jones, which really bums me out, but yeah. So they do go out there and they look for artifacts, they look for things. So I thought all archaeologists looked like Indiana Jones, but unfortunately, no. So that has been our current sort of, I'll call it challenge/opportunity that we've been working our way through. And then I want to take a second to hype everything that Mr. Mayor, you've been doing, you know, all the council members. Jesse, you know, you guys were recently at the Capitol stumping for more money. That's a thing that we have continued to do together. You guys have been doing great at. You know, we just got to keep hammering away at that until we get the rest of the monies. So that's the other thing I consider both an accomplishment and an opportunity for us is that we've not gone away. We've stayed in people's faces. You know, these legislatures, obviously your relationship with Representative Myers, you know, he knows we're still here. It's not paid for yet.
Yep.
I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Well, he just called me when we were talking about
Oh,
it,
did he?
so, I don't know.
Should've put him on
Maybe-
speakerphone.
Maybe he's got some news, so we'll see.
That'd be great. We did just sort of talk through this, but funding to date, a little bit of a roundup for you. You know, we've gotten direct appropriations from both the state of Minnesota and the federal government. 10.3 million from the state, 0.9 million from federal direct appropriations. And when we round up the current cost of things to 40 million, that leaves us with about a 30 million funding gap. Keep in mind that is, you know, we've always approached this as we need a whole turnkey solution, even though behind closed doors, I often get asked, you know, what portions of this can you do without? And we have responded to that question with, we can build this in stages. We can do some of these things because they are sort of discrete projects, hence the water main projects. You know, I was in here just a couple weeks talking about, right? A couple weeks ago talking about the things that they can come apart as Lego pieces, but they all go together to assemble the whole solution. Go ahead, Jesse. Oh yeah, I couldn't help but throw that picture in. It's a good one. And then I talked kind of most of my way through this already, but when I prepared this slide, I was calling it EPA required due diligence. We're sort of, even since I've prepared this slide, we've sort of reached a point where we think we can back them out of administering that process. So that's been very variable just in the last 2 weeks. We continue to submit on Mound's behalf to the IUP and the PPL. Why do we do that? Because it's the first question that any funding source is going to ask us. Are you in line for your state's drinking water revolving fund loans? You can see on there the rankings. Strangely, we went down in 2025, and I do have an answer for that, and that is because the number of cities that are asking for money due to manganese has gone up, and they ranked us all together. So part of it is a function of the fact that Mound starts with an M.
Great.
And all the manganese cities, well, they rank us all together then, you know, it's like a tie, but a bunch of cities tied at the same place. So, and you can see the points went from, you know, in 2022, 10, 5, and 23, and then 24 is when they really started acknowledging manganese as a crisis, because they made it a crisis, and it is a crisis, but that's when they started giving out an adequate number of points. I've got the asterisk in there as well, things that are fundable via Part B1. That means that based on that rank, we are eligible for low-interest loans. So to date, we have continued to ask for monies to build this, you know, without placing any burden on the city or on the city's residents because of the amount of infrastructure that Mound has taken it upon themselves to build already. or reconstruct or replace, in a very responsible manner. However, I want to mention that as that may be part of one of the puzzle pieces of when we get to the end. And so we're in line for that already. We've been asking for those monies, and so they're saying, we'll make this available to you. Here's your rank. You're eligible for low interest loans. So in 2025, what comes next? We're going to continue to submit for those direct appropriations. So every time our state senators, our national senators, reps, whenever they come to us and say we have an opportunity, do you fit in one of these categories? We always say yes. It's not the first time we've done this now, obviously, so we've been through it a little bit, and it's easier to ask for money once you've already gotten some money, We figured out that there are some buzzwords there that are related to safety of drinking water and things that, that our project would fit into a number of categories, but some of them we are more likely to get money than others. So we will continue to do that. Efforts by Mr. Mayor, the rest of the council, and the city manager. I suggest we consider the future of a city-led solution, and this is just me not wanting to be the harbinger of things, but just suggesting that at some point in the future, we may not get that full 40 million handed to us. And so I want to ask the question out loud, how long can we wait? At some point, we are going to be asked by our residents, hey, Brian, you've been talking to the council about this for a number of years. You've gotten some money. We see you've done some things. But at what point, do we take the rest of it upon ourselves? And I'm not asking us to have that conversation right now. I'm just wanting to plant some seeds that we are not ignorant of that question. And so we're saying that out loud, that will become a financial burden on us and our residents if we answer that question. However, I think we need to think about it and talk about it. We'll continue to submit to the IUP and the PPL. That goes a little bit to that last question of we will continue to stay in line for low interest loans, as well as ask for grant dollars, obviously. Who knows, maybe at some point in the near future, they'll decide that manganese is worth 30 points. And then there'll be a whole bunch of us communities that are all in there at a 30, and we'll be, tied with 45 other communities at a 50. I don't know. We'll continue to push manganese as a contaminant at the state level. That's more of a little bit of a behind-the-scenes thing. Obviously, as a consultant that works with, I don't work with too many other communities, but Bolton Mank as a whole does. We've seen this problem from the other side of the desk, in the fact that the state does not consider manganese a primary contaminant. If they did, it would put us in line for other things, like the money that's been made available for lead service lines, which we have taken advantage of, and we've gotten some money from the state to correct those things in Mound.
What does it take to get the state to recognize manganese? Do we need to be lobbying?
It's a little bit more of a philosophical discussion of, hey, let's acknowledge that the EPA published the health-based limit. The Minnesota Department of Health opted to use that health-based limit in requiring cities to make those notifications. So in 21, when we sent those letters, a good portion of that verbiage was required of us by the Department of Health based on EPA's limit. But then the Department of Health has not followed up that, that requirement of you have to tell your residents that they should not be drinking the water directly with here's a bucket of money directly for manganese removal. They've just sort of put us back in the bucket with everyone else and said, ask for money.
So it's the Department of Health as well as the legislature?
The Department of Health they're the lead agency. I don't want to say lead offender, but I'm thinking it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're the ones who required us to make those notifications and have not followed up that process with an easy path to a solution. And then let's keep advocating, let's keep asking, let's keep telling our story. I think we're doing a good job of that. I don't think I'm preaching to anyone that isn't, but every time I get a microphone in front of me and we talk about water and Mound, I'm going to give that message. So with that, I will stand for any questions. We can bump back to any slides if you want to talk about anything. I assume we're going to have a little discussion up here.
Yeah,
So.
does council have any questions?
Well, I have a couple questions and some thoughts. I've tried to do a lot of research on this, and trying to find numbers prior to 2021 is really difficult. Do you have any idea what the acceptable limits were before they created this crisis for cities?
So because it's not a primary contaminant, there was really no limit, and that's why there is only the health-based limit. If I answer the next question, I assume you may be going to ask me, which is how much manganese was in our water before 2021? I don't know, because we were not required to test for it, and we did not have even a, even being a responsible, water system operator, there wasn't a good reason to test for it.
Thank you. That was going to be my next question, because I look at this, and we all grew up drinking manganese without having any clue it was not good for us. And this is one of those situations where I look at this and I go, okay, we're being poisoned from all our food, our lubricants that we put on our, we are, toxins and contaminants are in every single thing, down to baby formula. But then they create this crisis for us that's going to be costing us $40 million. And I keep wondering if we should be more judicious to try to be our own saviors and figure out a better way than waiting for the government. And we're going to be $6 billion in debt, possibly by 2026. So I just don't see the money coming. So what else can we do? And that was one of my questions always. How long are we going to wait before we say, let's round up our ideas and come up with a short-term solution at least? The reason I asked that about the levels is, can you clarify, is this filtration system going to solve our discolored water problems?
So what we have in our water is iron and manganese. And the iron is what causes the brown and black coloration. The brown coloration. Manganese is primarily black, if there's enough that you can see it. And so a water treatment plant will remove those things.
So
What-
everybody with the bad brown water in the little pockets throughout Mound should see,
It's going to take a little bit, because a lot of that is sediment that is in some of those older pipes. I don't want to say that it's clean dirt, because it's existed in the pipes, and Ryan and his crews do a lot, starting a couple years ago when we started unidirectionally flushing water mains, figuring out which water systems sort of have an equilibrium, right? Water is generally flowing one direction all the time. And when we have a water main break, or we are doing some construction, or we have some reason to close a valve and change the direction of the water in the system, there's usually something afoot that results in those phone calls that they get. There's usually something that causes the direction of the water to change, and that will stir up that sediment and then carry it farther. And so it will be a little bit before we work all of those things out of our system. I just want to caution that. It's not going to be immediate, but the water from its source will not have that anymore, and the little bit of manganese that'll be hanging around will be well below the limit.
thanks, because I want everybody to understand they need to manage their expectations.
The other thing I want to
It's
mention.
not going to be crystal clear overnight.
The other thing I want to mention, since I'm sort of one of the points of continuity here, right, having worked on this since 2020, and I know some of you as well, but we talked about and we decided that we did not want to pursue softening, as a city, that was not one of the goals we had because it made the price tag get even bigger.
But, I keep looking at this and going, I think all of us have probably tested our water, and I know it just varies throughout Mound. But for example, in December, I had to get a new water heater, furnace, water softener, and air conditioner because, it was just, boom, they all died. They were 26 years old.
Bummer.
But every single one, I'm still getting rebates in the mail. So why couldn't we look at, somehow for a temporary solution as we wait for this 40 million, talk about legislation, not that you can solve this. I'm just trying to throw it
I do have some answers for you, though.
Okay.
Because why can't we just buy everybody a water softener?
Well, I'm not asking to
No,
buy
no.
everybody. I'm just saying, would that be feasible to take care of the immediate problem?
So can we just buy everybody a water softener was a question that was asked while we were brainstorming solutions. And that became problematic in a number of ways. Frankly, residential water softeners are not a great solution to this problem because there's moving parts. You have to keep salt in them. at some point your resin has to be refreshed. And so then there was no way for us, if we provided those, then would we also have to provide that level of service that we would have to service those to guarantee that they stayed in service so that the manganese was, see how we kind of went
Well,
down
I
a rabbit hole?
understand that.
I
I'm
like
not-
your idea.
But I'm not suggesting Mound, give
Yeah.
everybody a water softener. I mean, I've been changing salt, for years. It's just part of our maintenance, the homeowner maintenance. What I'm just trying to talk about is, should we be brainstorming to maybe go to the legislature and ask for other opportunities such as rebates? Because all the rebates I'm getting are all from St. Paul.
I believe that.
So I can answer that. So I worked with the senator to have her draft legislation to do that, and I think I mentioned that a month or so ago. I don't know if she's actually dropped the bill yet, but it would be reverse osmosis and a water softener, and then you get a rebate of so much or
That'd be
whatever.
great.
And that, it would be a statewide thing versus just a Mound thing.
Yeah.
Jesse, do you want to remind me or shoot her an email?
Yeah.
And see if she dropped that bill or is working on it or
And
something?
that's Johnson.
Yeah, we just met with her. But
Well,
yeah,
I
that's,
love that you've done that, because that seems like a really great short-term solution as we wait, for this 30 million. Otherwise, it's gonna be, we take, 3,000 residents, and it's 10 grand each, and we got ourselves a water treatment
Right.
plant.
Right.
So, I just feel like, and Mayor Holditz and Jesse and Ryan too, I know all of you have been working really hard at trying to find solutions to this, and we're not as in front of this as you are. But I just feel like, what if we wait another 10 years as the cost of this keeps growing, and then we've spent the 10 million, that you've done your due diligence and done all your pre-work, and we end up with nothing.
so without playing all of our cards on the table, I think I mentioned this a little bit before, but let's wait to see what we get this year.
Right.
As in end of May. And then in June, July, August, I think we're gonna have some serious Plan B discussions.
Yeah.
We're not gonna get all 30 anyway, it's not gonna happen. So let's just say we get something. What can we stomach for the rest of it? And again, so far it's just kind of a discussion between us so far, but we're really crossing our fingers for 30 and then just trying to get it. That's what we just testified for. But let's just say something doesn't happen where we just don't get enough, and we gotta figure out, well, how do we do the rest of it? What I wanna do is kind of get somewhat of a plan, and Noah's working on it as well, kind of behind the scenes. And then probably bring it to the budget committee, kind of crunch the numbers, how does this fit into our financial plan? Remember, we're trying to get out of debt in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
So how does this, affect the whole plan? And then probably, again, sometime in the summer, I think we need to invite everybody from Mound out and, push it out there for weeks ahead of time
You mean Plan B?
to propose Plan B and to say, here's what we're
And
thinking.
plan-
Maybe we'd do a workshop first, but see what we all think, but,
In Plan B, you are meaning we'd have to do a referendum for a bond issue.
right.
How long, what type of turnaround? Do we have any kind of idea that we,
Well, through the
timeframe?
through the PFA, you can do up to a 30-year loan,
Okay,
or bond,
So,
at
yeah.
2.5.
okay.
So, but again, that's us paying for it, right?
Yeah.
Now, again, I think we're kind of 4 years into this thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, are we either gonna just figure this thing out on our own, at least part of it? Minnetonka Beach just did that. They're assessing every resident, and they're doing a 5-year increasing schedule. I think they're starting at like 1,300, and it's capping out at $2,000 a resident. Now, they only have 220 people,
Yeah.
but,
But they've got an income of greater.
well, and I just met with the mayor, and yes, there's definitely a lot more, I think, wealth in that town, but there's also residents that don't have the wealth, and they've been there for years and years and years,
Sure.
and can't, handle a $2,000 extra bill, but, again, that's Plan B. I would say, I don't want, to push it out there too much. It's gonna suck,
So
but,
that's an
Well, I don't know if it
assessment.
will suck. I mean, it's just the reality,
Right.
and we're not the only town dealing with this.
Yes.
That's what's so frustrating here, because every small town is faced
Is
with
dealing
the
with it,
same
sure.
crisis, trying to figure out how to avert it by them suddenly tell us this manganese that we've been drinking our whole lives is now suddenly bad.
So this is where you were on council, but, was it the second or third meeting on council? And I came on, I was like, I want to lower our water bill. What the hell? Our water bill is ridiculous. Seriously.
It is.
That's one of the crosswalk was number one.
Yeah.
And then number two was our water bill is
Right.
ridiculous.
I think you actually came into one
And the
meeting waiving your
crosswalk
water
is
bill.
coming along.
We had it with you.
remember,
We
yeah.
had it with you. I was like, yes, and
Well,
also,
what
we're going to talk about
What is
that.
your long range? I mean, what is the plan that you guys have discussed that, we'll give another just till May?
I want to
or
see what
another 2
legislator
years out?
does this year and to see if we get money. We're also, we'll see what the Fed or the federal government does here with the budget. We're in that a little bit too, right? Now, remember, the strings are a little more stringy with the federal money.
We
but-
can work with it. If they were
Yeah,
to
money's money. We'll
give
take
us the
it.
full 30 million, we'd
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah,
But
There could be many alternatives. I was just thinking, when I first got out of college, I worked for housing finance. The city of, I think it was Buell, Minnesota. I think that's in the Iron Range, is that correct? Okay, they were on the central heating of the mine, and the mine closed down. So all the houses in that town had no heaters.
Oh, God.
And the state came up with a program, I'm pretty sure that MHFA financed the purchase of furnaces for that town. So, like you said, we've got a lot of towns in this, so it's not just us. Maybe it's a combination of, we've got to get public health to do what they need to do, and maybe with other agencies through DEED or MHFA, maybe they could bond it and take some of the burden off of our residents a little bit.
So one of the things that, Sherry, you mentioned something sort of important is that we are not alone. Not every small town draws from the same aquifer, but all of us that do are in a similar position. And I've had, offline discussions with engineers and public works directors from many of these communities over the last couple of years. And part of the reason, at least I think, this is just personal opinion now, as a resident, of a city, not of an engineer, that it has not become, a class action thing. Why we haven't all been able to bond together is that everyone is in various stages of having that exact conversation of how long do we wait and how much of this do we tackle ourselves. And that's, because obviously with that IUP PPL ranking of all of us being in there, everyone is considering some of the same funding sources, but also there are different tolerances for being able to pay for the solution. And obviously everybody's solution looks a little bit different as well. And ours happens to be one of the more expensive.
so with our ranking, if everything goes well, I mean, we're not even expecting maybe 3 million of like free money, right? Obviously we can go there and get a loan, right? And do that for 30 years.
Low interest loan, right?
Yeah, 2.5. And again, we will pay it back, but the free money, we're talking maybe 3. Now, the legislators still have to fund it, right? So that's the other problem. And that's where we're down at the Capitol, lobbying last week. So actually, we're down there twice this last week, Tuesday and Thursday. I don't know if you want to put up the picture, but we met with, well, first of all, we did the testify, so you can see there.
I'm
There's
still
me.
bummed that isn't a dirty bottle of water.
No, I
looks like
wanted
you're
clean
gonna
water.
find help to somebody.
Saying that we need clean water, not.
Promoting Costco and water.
That, I just clipped this, so I look weird, but, and then this is, on Thursday, we went, City on the Hill Day, and kind of hard to see, but that's the senator there, as well as Jesse and Maggie and Councilmember Pugh. And in our hands, we're holding, a Mounds bar, so a little Mound candy bar. And then we put a QR code on there that ties to our website. So that, what we did is we tried to hand it to all the reps. The problem is Republicans are on one floor. We got half of the Republicans, then they gave the other to one of the chief of staff so he could do the other side. And then the Democrats are on the level above us. Well, we couldn't get in there because Representative Myers was there. And we don't have another rep because we don't have a Democrat rep, so.
The Mound Bar is such a fun idea.
I did tell you, you were there.
Was it received well?
But I thought,
think
we were trying to get on the next level, but anyway,
Never mind.
I asked the Republican chief of staff, I said, well, can you get on the Democrat level and hand it out to them too? And he goes, so I don't know if they made it to them or not,
He
but,
wanted those
Was it
candy
received
bars.
well from the people
oh,
who handed it
it was
to you?
great,
It's really
and thank
clever
you
and
for all
cute.
the work doing it.
Yeah, it's fun.
And then, but I will say, we hit every senator, right? We hit every single senator's office. So
fantastic.
there's a lot less of them, but, you know, they're building themselves a huge, massive building, right? Down there.
Right.
The reps, so they're all in a separate thing. And you got to security to get up there. I mean, talk about seeing your own reps, you know, you shouldn't need security to see these people, but senators are free for all. You can just go in.
That's
They
great.
should be giving us water instead of a new office building.
That's, I mean, that's my point, right? It's not that much.
And you knew before you met with her that she's a civil engineer, right?
Oh, yeah, and she's very, very supportive.
She's
You know,
very
right-
receptive.
Ann
Right.
Johnson?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right when she sat down, she said, you know, this is my number one priority. I don't know if she says that to everybody, every town, but she said this is she actually didn't even
No,
want to talk
she-
about it because she wanted to
is,
go to the next
yeah.
thing. Because she's like, I already know, believe me, I'm on it. And we're like, okay, well, we still want to talk about it for half an hour, so. And so,
She's a civil engineer, but she's been on it. I talked to her before. She ran once before and didn't get the endorsement, and we talked at that time, and she was on board with us.
About the Mound water issue? Oh,
Yeah.
and the other thing too is, remember, both her and Myers, both in their campaigns, their literature, their website, and their live debates, and I saw them
Talked
all,
about-
they all mentioned Mound's water. So it's, they know it, but it's also incumbent on us and whoever's gonna watch us later that we need to keep emailing and calling them. And I'm not kidding, actually do it. Don't just pretend like you're doing it. We need to, it's one thing to come from me and from us, but if the residents and, you know, you got a stack of emails that people, that we're demanding, we need help here, that's gonna go a lot farther than, you know, us meeting. They know, we've heard it. We call them all the time. We're texting, we're emailing, calling. So it does help if it's from other people too, not just, you know, me, Jesse, you.
Public officials are sick of me at conferences.
Well, and it works. I mean, I think relationships are very helpful because I do think that even the first round, I mean, it's who you know and, you know, kind of taking care of people. So I will say Minnetrista was there as well. Both had, you know, this and then the testifying thing. They asked for 27 million, I think, somewhere in there. We asked for 30. They have a treatment plant. They just need another one, you know, I think theirs is more of a growth issue.
Yeah.
But they still need, you know, they have their own problems as well too. And, you know, they're probably pulling more or less from the same water that we're pulling from. The difference is they have treatment plant, they have 2 already, and they're trying to get another 3rd one, so we have 0. You know, all we're doing is we're doing chlorine and fluoride per, you know, what we have to do, right from the ground. We don't have a treatment plant. So this is, the whole point of this is we need a treatment plant that we've never had before and never needed because we never had to look at this. Going back to like your testing page, again, I got on here in, 21, right? And second, third meeting, whatever it was, hey, we have a manganese issue. Like, great, what's this? This last year, we said, and I remember we were talking about it too, we're like, when's the last time we tested? And again, love Eric, but, you know, he just didn't think that he needed to test. And we were like, no, we want to test this, you know, again. And so I'm glad to see that, you know, we're keeping it up too, Ryan, thanks. That, you know, I think we should test every quarter, you know. And the point in the past was, well, that's not going to change. You know, if it's in there, it's in there. But it's like,
It clearly is changing.
It did change it on Bartlett.
my,
It was a big change.
Significantly.
well, Bartlett, yeah, and,
Yeah.
you know, depending on when the, you know, that's 2 items. So let's just say we did it quarterly, right, and see. But point is, it's still very, very high, and it's I think Eric in the past was, it's not gonna change. In other words, it's there, it's high, it's not, you know. I just want a reconfirmation of that, no, it is still there, it is still high, and we still have a problem. And it's a problem everywhere. Well, it still is a problem everywhere. But I am glad that we're keeping testing, and that's a good thing. The other thing too is just on the personal level, I don't know who's done it here, but I've tested my own, right? Do it from the kitchen sink typically, but, well, it depends on where you drink your water, I guess, but, I did it from the kitchen sink, and, you know, I've talked to my kind of water guy that came out and helped me, and so I was having a water softener issue. So and this is the whole thing, right? So like, if we buy everybody water softeners, and, well, then we're gonna get them salt, and then we're gonna, so my water softener was having an issue, was kind of like leaking out the discharge line, right? And it was just kind of like leaking a lot. And I was like, well, call the guy, you know, he put it in 4, 5, 7 years ago, whatever it was. I said, hey, you know, come out and, you know, look at this thing. And so he took something apart, right, replaced something on there, and then, you know, a couple $100 later, now it works, right? And it doesn't, you know, but he's like, that's the problem, you gotta keep these things up. So, you know, you have grandma in her house that doesn't ever change it, and then all of a sudden, or doesn't put salt in there, you know, it's not, you gotta be careful that you're staying on top of these things. You gotta have salt, you gotta make sure the thing works. You should still test it. I mean, if you're drinking the water, you should still test it. Now, the other thing too is, since he was out, I said, well, how much is for like a reverse osmosis? I'm sick of this. I'm sick of bottled water. So I said, how much is this? I mean, we have 4 people in our family. I mean, just tons of these things. Plus plastic, you know, it's tossing it all over the place. So I actually just bought a reverse osmosis for myself and family, $1,700 later, right? So now I have a water softener. It has to go through there first, then you have to reverse osmosis. If you go straight from the line, it'll jam it up. I mean, I've seen the picture. I've had residents email me. They'll jam them up in a couple of days.
RO is too efficient at removing the hardness.
Right.
That's the problem. And so then reverse osmosis, you don't see reverse osmosis systems to soften water because they will immediately clog
Right.
because they take it all out.
So, point with this is, make sure if you're drinking the water, you have the correct setup. You know, go ask, you know, find a professional to help you. You can do these things on your own, right? I'm just sick of this, and I want to drink the water, and now it tastes phenomenal. I mean, once you do it. Now again, I tested my water, and I live up on Beechwood, kind of where this new water treatment plant will be, and my numbers are actually fine before this. Now again, I have a water softener, so I think the softener was doing what it needed to do to take it out. I mean, it was very, very low. But again, for me and my family, you know, I'm like, you know, I still didn't try. We still bought this. You know, I tested it probably a year and a half ago,
But I
and then
think
now I've done this new reverse thing.
one of our challenges is, and we've just talked about that, and that is, we have a high number of rental properties.
Yep.
So our landlord's going to invest in water softeners and treatments for their tenants, more than likely not, because that wouldn't be in the profit margin. But I think as we move to the future, we probably do need to think about collaboration with the other cities, rather than fighting amongst each other, trying to position what can 10 cities do together in moving the state or the feds to give us the resources versus, you know, our town alone. And I think that that's probably going to be key. If we can form an alliance and collaboration with the other cities, we'll have more to fight with. You know, we'll have more state senators and House representatives and more congressional people fighting for the resources. And yes, as individual homeowners, we can do our own self-solution, but that's not a permanent solution. It really is the treatment facility. And that's what we need. And that's where we need the power of the other cities to come with us and fight.
Sherry, I think the term I used in the original water treatment plant report was that water softeners are not a municipal or municipal-sized solution. That was the most diplomatic way I could come up with to say the same thing you just said. But it's true, right?
Well, most other cities have treated water at the tap, and we should have treated water at the tap. Now, back to your water softener, should we soften it at the treatment plant? And again, that was, I think, a decision of the old council, us, is that it would have been a lot more money. Plus, now you're watering your lawn and you're throwing salt all over your lawn, right? Does that make sense? No. So we said, no, we're not gonna have that as part of it.
I think aren't there 3 cities around the lake, Excelsior and Shoreview? There are 3 cities that have water softeners.
Municipal softening?
Systems. Yeah.
I apologize, I don't know off the top of my head, but I know that there are some.
I remember reading about it
How many cities are on this aquifer? Do we know that?
I could find that out for you.
Okay.
I don't know off the top of my head.
I don't know, or I wouldn't have asked. You said that the water softener helps, and we've been talking about that, but is it okay for us to push that information out to our citizens to say, look, if you have a water softener, our understanding is blah. If you want to check with a water specialist,
If you look at the communication we sent in 21.
You did?
We
Okay.
said that at the time. We,
all right.
It's on the
we say it very
website.
carefully.
Still on the website?
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
Under
but
the
we,
water
we say
section.
that your softener, if operating properly, likely removes the manganese as part of the softening. And if you're going to rely on that, we suggest you have your water tested.
All right.
We just can't market it as a cure-all.
Right,
'Cause
that's
it's
why I
not,
was
yeah.
asking.
I think there's enough caveats in there that Mr. Landsman would be proud of me.
Got a big disclosure at the bottom?
The other thing is we do refer them to the Minnesota Department of Health.
Yeah.
And they have kind of a one-pager, as well as other, I think, links and stuff on there too, so.
There's lots of resources, not just, not the resources we're looking for necessarily. There's lots of information for people, but not the help to remove it. One thing I do want to mention, probably in preparation for having that discussion later this year, and it's already come up in our discussions with NOAA, is that we will revisit, and I don't want to keep referring people to a report now that's 4 years old, but the original water treatment report does have some good information in there. And we did look at cash flowing the whole thing, how that would look if the residents paid for it. And I think we need to take that math and update it with what we've gotten so far. And then the next time you ask, we'll project if we've gotten something new at that time, but then we can talk about what does the cash flow look like for the rest of the project.
And just so everybody knows, originally, it was that your bill on the number on the bottom, it would be double. So that's why we said, well, we're gonna just pause on this. Plus, it was brand new at the time, and we didn't know, if there's gonna be, options in the state. I think there's, 60 to 70 cities that have manganese now?
I can actually easily sort that list and get them to you if you want to know who they are that are in that list for
I think
manganese.
this was last, we were one of the first ones that went to the state right away. Didn't work out the first year, but,
We managed to get in the IUP PPL right away that first
Right.
year. Not everybody else did, but in '22, there were a lot more names.
right. So, again, we'll talk about this more probably in the summer, but depending on what we get.
After May.
Yeah, and I do have some ideas, and we've been floating them with Noah and Jesse about how can we more or less stay on our track with our financial plan. Remember, we're $4.5 million in the hole in our water fund as it is, plus this storm.
We have a plan to get out of that, and then, it's not, there's like good, better, best ways to do it, and, we've been spending like over $1 million a year on lift stations, and, that'll go away pretty soon, and I don't know.
We never say it goes away. Shift to maintenance, right?
Yeah.
Shift to
I'm looking for a
maintenance.
caveat there.
Shift to maintenance.
Shift to maintenance.
Well, I don't want you to think we're done. The lift
Yeah.
stations still exist. They have to be cared for. We just want to build any new ones, right?
So this 2021 document, is it out on our website?
It
It-
was,
Okay.
under the water.
I can
I
give
haven't looked at the
Jesse a link
section
to
for a while.
redistribute it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll make
Brian,
sure you have a
had
copy of
mentioned
it.
that you could get a list of the cities. I
That have
think we'd all
manganese.
love to see that
Yeah,
list.
what is-
Absolutely. Help me out with that email later, Jesse?
Misery loves
Thank you.
company, right?
No, it's worthwhile to know who. One thing, too, that will be part of our discussions is that there's not a few things that I say government is doing a spectacular job at, but when it comes to those low-interest loans, they do have some tolerance to refinance existing debt. So we do have some option to roll, we're so close to paying some of those off, and we have a pretty structured waterfall already. On top of that, I don't want to dabble in Noah's business. However, that will be a factor in those discussions, is that some of that existing debt could be refinanced into, low interest.
Cool.
So that'll be another piece that comes into play when we're having a serious discussion about when are we done waiting.
Yeah, I think no matter what, we're gonna have to have a conversation this, after the legislature.
In June.
June-ish.
1st,
After
Yeah.
the session's over?
the day after the session closes.
Yeah, after they pass the budget, then they look at bonding, so it's like, and I know sometimes they've held over to Memorial.
And it was
but-
important, I think, when we met with Ann
Mm-hmm.
Stewart Johnson, she said, you need to understand that the bonding money, it, we're so close to paying some of those off, and we have a pretty structured waterfall already. On top of that, I don't want to dabble in Noah's business. So that'll be another piece that comes into play when we're having a serious discussion about when are we done waiting. the first take on the bonding money is, there's a pot of money that goes to the University of Minnesota and all the state facilities. So there's, X amount, probably 30% goes to them. Then there's another amount that goes to, I can't remember what, there's
The
like three.
prisons, the
Yeah, the prisons and,
colleges.
no, colleges were in the first one.
DOT's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we're in the group that's what's left after.
Right.
And so it's a smaller pool of
The
money.
peasants.
Yeah.
When we've gotten verbal support from both of them,
Yes.
saying that they will vote for a bonding bill,
Right.
no matter what's in it. And, I mean, think about that, it's hard to do, right? Like, I wouldn't want that job, because you gotta vote for a bunch of stuff that you probably don't agree with, party lines, right?
It's party lines and, yeah.
So, I know last year, or last time we got it, it was, the cash bill. I don't care how they have to do it, as long as we get the money, if it's cash or bond, but this time I don't think there's gonna be a cash bill, so I think they're gonna have to do a bonding bill. So, we'll see. This is not a public comment section, but I do know there's a few people here that might wanna say something, so. Yeah,
Brian, thanks for
Thank
all
you.
your hard work
Appreciate
on this.
it. Does anybody wanna come up and say anything at all? Any residents? Yeah, come on up.
Hi, my name is Helen Canning. I live at 5930 Beechwood Road.
Yeah.
Yours,
Yeah.
on Lake Langdon. I moved here in October of 2021, and my sister lived next door to me. The only reason I knew about the water issue is because of family. So I'm encouraging you to think of people who come to the city without neighbors or family next door, and if they don't read the mail, a lot of people just toss it. There's no way to know that you need to get your water tested. And I didn't know that we could get it tested. I didn't know there was a fee. I didn't know where. I just put water softeners in. She told me to put a filter that I paid like $125 underneath every sink. But for others that aren't like me, they don't know. And I don't want us to promote this, but I think we should educate new people. And I don't know how you do that, but if there's a way, I think it'd be really worthwhile.
Yeah.
A welcome and FYI, we have wonderful parks and lakes and check your water type of thing. We're working on it. But an opportunity to promote what you're doing as well.
Yeah.
Because I know you're working really hard. But new people don't know that.
It is tough to.
They only hear the
keep
hard
it
stuff.
moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I promote it all the time, but I think for new people, it'd be a great way.
We did also float an idea, this is just between me and Jesse, but kind of a letter to residents.
Yep.
being
Yeah,
that it's
because
been-
I moved here after your letter went out, so
Right.
I relied on, or Spirit of the Lakes, maybe a booth, man, I don't know, just for new people.
Yeah.
No,
I
that's-
appreciate it.
Thanks.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Helen.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yeah, come on up. Yeah. Just give us your name and address again.
Patricia Eddington, 4567 Dorchester Road. I'm really glad I came because I did get the letter about the water, but I didn't really get that you're not supposed to drink it, and
Right.
we've been drinking the water, and so I wish they'd send out another letter that was, since it's such a serious issue,
Right.
and we only got the one letter, and not everyone really got that it was this big of a deal that you shouldn't drink it.
Right.
I wish they'd do more to emphasize, maybe send out another letter, being really clear about it.
Yeah.
Just like the other lady had mentioned, because it's kind of a scary thing.
Right.
I don't know what can happen, as a result of the manganese and all that, but I wish they'd send out a letter to be more specific about not drinking it and whatever else we can do to protect ourselves
Yeah.
from the manganese.
Yeah.
Well, I've been
Yeah.
drinking it for 35 years. And I might be crazy, but I think I'm pretty healthy.
Oh.
So again, we didn't know any of this prior
Yeah.
to 2021, and we've been
Yeah.
drinking away, so.
Okay,
And if you might be fine, test your water.
okay,
Maybe you're fine if you have a water softener and
yeah.
you've been keeping that up and,
Okay,
just, I would test it. I mean,
yeah.
If you're gonna keep
okay.
drinking it.
All right,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yep.
Thank
And
you.
then we have those resources on our website of where to get them. I sent,
It's also on the agenda tonight.
Yeah.
That they could look at.
So basically what I did is I called Bloomington and I said, you know, hey, can you send me the little vial, right? And then it tells you how to do it, you do it, right? And then I actually mailed it to them because I didn't want to drive over there all the way to Bloomington. And then they emailed me the results. It was very fast. And the people that I talked to were pretty nice. You just send a check with it. So either that or you can go pick it up and then do it, so.
As I mentioned, I had to just replace all of my water, everything. And they tested my water, which I got the results. And now I'm gonna send it back in to Bloomington just to kind of compare. You know, it'll be kind of fun.
Like the old
What-
versus the new?
Well, from December,
Oh.
from the company that sold me,
Yeah.
that works on all my stuff,
Yeah.
to see what comes back from Bloomington. You know,
Right.
just a little
Yeah.
cross-reference.
Do you have reverse osmosis too, or just water softener?
I have a water softener, and about 5 years ago, I got some reverse osmosis in my drinking sink.
Okay.
But I'll drink out of any faucet. To me, this is, there are bigger things out there that worry me, like, you know, kids eating poisonous cereal than manganese in the water. So, but I'm taking it seriously. But, you know, I think there's bigger threats out there to our health than this.
Any other public want to come out, talk? No? All right. Going back to council, any other conversation or discussion that anybody wants to have on this?
Just thank you for all the hard
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
that you've all been doing, Brian, Jesse, Sherry, I think you've been to the Capitol a couple times, maybe Kevin.
I was out of town, so yeah, thank you.
Do you have any leftover Mounds bars?
We gave them all away.
You did not.
We got them at the front desk now, so.
Oh,
Actually,
Sorry.
they had them at the desk.
That would have been
This
fun to
morning
be
when I was
sitting
at
at
the desk,
each of
I
our
got one.
chairs and,
You know, in the few days since we've been back, more have been picked up than I expected. Personally, coconut's not my favorite, but.
I was surprised
Oh, I
Bob liked
love
them.
those.
Do we get a count on people who look at that
I like the
ULR?
texture.
There's a way, but I think it might be skewed from all
Oh, okay.
the cross contamination from people around here scanning and things, but
Mhm.
just to echo the mayor's point, I mean, the handful of senators that we did see that were there were really tickled by it. And pretty much every staffer was like, they're gonna get the information, but they're not getting the candy. But that was the senator's point when, and she recommended doing something like this, sort of,
Sure.
something a little different, because, I mean, you were stuffing mailboxes in the House side, and it's all one-pagers, you know,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
look the same, and so if they just remember, you know, one little thing, a piece of candy or whatever, I mean,
great idea.
Well, maybe we can do it at the festival in the lakes this year.
Well, that's a good idea, just have a bunch of
Have
Mounds
them
bar.
there as another way to remind people about checking their water.
Yeah.
we can do something else.
All right, we'll move on. More to come on that in the next few months. Number 8, we got council reports from council members. Councilmember Pugh.
Well, I was, let's see, I went to the league's training, the advanced training. It was really a good session. They talked about labor negotiations, negotiating with your unions, and different ways different city councils have configured who the negotiation team is for that. And then they talked about leadership styles and how to organize yourself by, you know, getting all the information. And there was a workbook and a book that was given out at it. So it was well attended. A good 2 days or day and a half of training at that. And then I went to the city day at the Hill with my colleagues here, and we had a good time. Both Ann and Andrew Myers were both very receptive. We had good conversations. They were very positive, and I think we were also pretty straightforward in saying, you know, we hear you say it's a priority. We want you to really make it a priority, and that we needed the money. So I think we set down firm affirmations. And then I went on a wonderful civil rights tour, which I'll tell people in private about. It was really great. Got to go to my birthplace. So, that's it.
All right. Councilmember McEnany?
The only thing I've got is the pancake breakfast is this Sunday at the Legion, and it's, the proceeds are going to the Island Park Preservation Society, and they're still doing a great job restoring that building. I think it was built in 1933. Yeah, so they're
It's a
doing a great job, and
WPA.
it's fully, the Mound owns the property, but it's, I think they started a 501(c), and they're doing all the,
Put a new roof on it, too?
yeah, they got a new roof, and they're getting it painted. The inside is just beautiful. It's got its own fireplace. So, anyway, that is from 9 to noon at the Legion this Sunday. And then I'm just going to mention, if anybody wants their photo taken following this for the newsletter and for the website, I can take a picture of you.
And we're going to do the group photo.
Yeah, we can do a group too, somebody can,
So don't leave right away.
yeah.
All right, Councilmember Castellano?
I don't have anything from me personally, but I was hoping to maybe get a refresher, I guess, personally for me as well, but maybe anybody listening or as this rolls out too, but I got just took one phone call of a resident that was kind of upset or caught off guard, I guess, on how the $2 fee was working on is it called iCloud, like the invoicing?
Right.
And so she was under the impression that it is not optional, and that it should have been communicated, but I think we did communicate that in previous Compass, maybe a little while ago, but I don't know, can you like provide like a quick refresh on like the different options to pay, you know?
Well, as I recall, it is specific to ACH transfers. So anybody that was already on ACH auto pay did receive notice
Of the $2.
of the change.
Okay.
Any other way to pay is going to have the normal fees associated.
So if they want to bring in a check to City Hall, they would
certainly
avoid the
can.
$2 fee?
Correct.
Okay.
You can also set up a bill pay.
Oh, yeah,
From
like
your
through
bank.
your, yeah.
That's like
okay.
what I do.
Yep.
I think you do that too, right? Monthly? And then we just reconcile the difference.
Yeah.
They send me a little, you still owe $40 or whatever. We sent this to 700 people. So there's, 700 out of 4,500 or how many houses we got.
I was just thinking if I got, someone else is gonna maybe have the same
Yeah.
mindset, so just to air it out and kind
I think I had her potentially, and then I think I got one other call.
of. Okay, I think she's actually spoke with Maggie as well, so
Yeah.
I'll follow up too, but yeah.
Yeah, so
Wanted to
the-
be crystal clear myself.
Yeah,
so.
and then the other thing too is, what, if you do want to do it and pay the $2, remember, every other place charges transaction fees for certain things. And then plus, you get an online site, it shows all your stuff, so you can talk about the benefits of, it's $2 a quarter, right?
Mhm.
So we're not talking a ton of
Yeah.
money, but I get it,
Yeah. I think it's just, knowing there's an option.
Yeah, there's an option to get out of it if you
Yeah.
want it.
Yep. I don't know, I didn't have anything else.
Okay.
So thanks, and I'm gonna put you in the spot there.
And then Councilmember Herrick?
Not a lot going on. I do have that meeting tomorrow with the Orono Police Commission. Are you gonna be there or?
Yeah.
Okay. And Jesse, I just looked again. I don't think I have a copy of that contract. Can you get that to me?
Yeah.
Maybe it's stuck in my email somewhere.
I'm pretty sure I sent it, but I will
Yeah, I thought you
resend
did
it.
too, so. And then I also have a comment. I got an email from Andrew Myers about these House bills that they're trying to work through. I did comment individually, but do we need to come back as a city council to present
think-
that to him, or is it just
Well, it
okay to
happened
respond
today.
individually? Yeah, he
At
gave it
3 o'clock.
yesterday.
Oh, maybe that's why he called.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I responded to right away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I responded
But
this morning.
if I read it correctly, I thought it was being presented at 3 o'clock today.
Yeah, I
So
think you're right.
we did lobby on behalf of the council,
Okay,
more or less.
Against or for?
Against it.
okay.
And when I say that, I assumed that you guys would agree. But,
Yes.
both of us, we were there, right? And, so basically what we're talking about is,
Oh,
it's
sorry.
the bill it was called like Missing Middle from last year.
Well, no, now it's got a new name.
It's got a new name and they
Which is
basically,
completely arbitrary. It doesn't even make any sense.
yeah, well, Missing Middle didn't make sense either.
No, it didn't. This
Basically,
bill
what they-
is called, here, I've got it. It's called the Minnesota Starter Home Act, which has nothing to do with starter homes.
Oh. So basically what they want to
Zero.
do is they want to take local control, in other words,
Right.
us and you guys as you're voting us up here, away,
Zoning.
away,
Zoning
away from
control.
zoning. So if,
Limiting the zoning authority, is
Right.
the actual verbiage.
say if apartment, complex wanted to come in here, they basically say, mom and dad at the state would say, no, too bad, you guys don't have a choice, this is just gonna happen. And it just gets kind of rubber stamped through, and then we're kind of out of the whole thing. And, we've chose to live here, right, and we want to keep it, how we want it, right? Or if we want to develop it, we want to, kind of how we want it to be developed, so. But that's that, and then the parking bill got killed
Oh, it
already,
did?
yeah.
Oh, that one,
So
yeah.
Good.
we were, again, both against that as well.
Good.
And I think on Monday, I have a meeting with the senator and other mayors in the area, and about basically, well, what might have happened at 3 o'clock, whether they voted on it or not, but there's supposed to be a meeting on Monday about that, so.
Well,
we'll see.
for
Maybe-
those who want to look up the bill, it's HF 1987. And then there was another
It's
bill,
HF 2013.
2013, which I was a little skeptical on that one, too.
Yeah, it's
But-
talking about municipalities imposing aesthetic conditions. I think it's more involved, like with some of the housing.
Yeah, but it's
properties,
also talking
Yeah.
about
Removing our rights.
minimum
Yeah.
lot sizes and
Yep.
things like that, so.
Yeah.
And part of what we said too is like, we just spent money last year redoing our comp plan, right? And we went through Met Council, who's another quasi-government organization, that we had to go get permission in how we do our comp plan here, which is a normal thing, but to get it updated to the comp plan. And part of why we did that, we already said we have a lot of affordable housing as it is, just naturally, and as well as 25% is rental stock in our housing stock. And they came back and approved it, and they said, yep, you guys are good, we like your density requirements, we're good. This bill would basically just take off everything we just did and,
Well, we would have basically.
take it away.
Right.
A
It would take
council
us-
would have no authority
Right.
on how we use our zoning laws.
Right.
So anytime, I'm opposed to anything that's regulating a
Our
city
ability.
government
Yeah.
from making the best choices for their residents.
Right.
Did you write my response?
I've had the same response
That's
many
the same
times
as
on
Jose,
all
pretty
these
much.
bills. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I mean, that's the case. I mean, it's going to restrict us, our ability to require, or match, or, well, anyway, let me start over again. Basically, it would restrict the city's abilities to implement its current zoning rules and
Right.
would impose these
Yeah.
rules.
So hopefully, we get news that it got stricken down.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Anything else?
Nope, I'm good, thank you.
All right, and, I mean, I think we've kind of talked about all my stuff, so I think that's all I got. I already talked to her.
Oh, okay.
You have anything?
I will mention the fire partnership, our next meeting for that's next Tuesday. And I'll be at the OPD's Fill the Bus on Friday. I think that went out to the commission, but it's kind of a fun thing I did last year.
What is it?
I don't know if you got that or not.
Oh.
No, I didn't get it.
Yeah.
I can forward it to you. I thought it went to the police commission. Pretty sure it did.
Maybe just you guys.
Could have been. Well,
I didn't get it.
I'll forward it.
Okay. Was that at Shirley Hills there?
It's all the
Schools.
schools.
All the schools,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
They just go out to each of them?
And they end at the food shelf.
Yeah.
Okay. What day is it?
Friday.
This Friday or next Friday?
This coming Friday. I'm sure you'll be talking about.
Like a couple days? Okay.
Yep.
Oh, I have something I should have announced.
Oh, go ahead.
Thursday, the 13th, is Age Friendly Day at the Capitol. And so if you're available, there's a free breakfast at the Wilder Foundation, which is at the corner of University and Lexington at 8:30. we'll be briefing people and then going over and lobbying for age-friendly continuation.
Great.
All right, anything else, Jesse?
Nope, that's all I got.
Okay. Anything else from council? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All right, got a motion, can I get a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right, we're adjourned.